Good afternoon, everyone. I see a few familiar faces too, which is nice. I always like to come out and greet you and welcome you to these. The Meriwether and Williams, we've got a very nice relationship with the city of LA in terms of their partnership, their help, and preparing contractors to bid on city projects. I know we weren't able to watch the full video, but something struck me. What we did see, we saw J.L. Moody, Servitec, Carter Industrial. What do all three of those have in common? They've all been contractors on City of Los Angeles Public Works projects. So that speaks to what Meriwether and Williams does and can help, and how they can help you. City of LA, we've been working on something referred to as community level contracting. Those are projects that are designed specifically for smaller first-time bidders. Right now, we've been working to finalize our small sidewalk. Some of you have heard me talking about that. At previous sessions, we had bids come in December. We're finishing up the evaluation process. Very soon, we'll be going to our board to establish the new small sidewalk contractors list. We're always looking for other opportunities for community level contracting as well. There are other opportunities coming up. As an example, there's been a big push, not just for the sidewalks, but for the access ramps at the corners. And in particular, as we keep moving forward, we're in 2024 now, we are working towards LA 28 or the Olympics and making sure everything looks good. So even though we're not doing major construction in preparation for the Olympics, we have a lot of opportunities, maybe on a smaller scale, that will be more fitting for entry-level contractors to get your feet wet and get used to working with the city as we prepare ourselves for the Olympics. And besides the Olympics, in case you haven't been up to date, we also have that little thing called the World Cup that's coming to LA as well. So with that said, welcome. I hope you enjoy and get a lot out of these classes. It's really helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on our bids as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. So, week one is what I'm doing tonight is the intro to bidding, estimating. And then we got week two's documents and general conditions. That is more about when you get the invitation to bid, all those documents that's in there. What are they? There's lots of forms that you need to fill out because with Public Works, it's a low bid, but responsive and responsible. So all their forms, you don't want to leave anything blank because that becomes you're non-responsive. So we will go through those documents, and if it doesn't apply, put something on that line to show Linda and her team that you haven't left anything blank. So that's, general conditions. It's like, how do you determine what your general conditions are? Is week two. Then it'd be quality takeoffs. You got the plans. How do you get your quantities? If you're a drywall, what's your linear footage and all that kind of stuff is what we do. Then pricing is week four. And then you put it all together, bid assembly and bid day. So each week there's a different major general contractor that will be teaching weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5. Week 5 will be back in here with that. So at the end of each presentation, you guys are going to be in groups. I think it'll be in groups of 4, 4 groups here. And then we're going to give you a exercise at the end of each class. So just make sure that you're understanding and you're working together. I know for weeks 2, 3, and 4, it's going to be a little difficult because you'll be virtual. So we'll put you into a breakout rooms. But it's also to get you to know each other at that point too. So each week that there's going to be something that's going to be, so after tonight, at the end, it's going to be a short quiz that I'm going to give you guys. So make sure you ask questions as we go. Everybody's good with that? So some of the things that we're going to be talking about, is navigating the bid process, bid and estimating overview, types of proposal, project delivery, construction types. And then I think we might skip that last one tonight, but starting next week. So I'm going to have Carla come up and talk a little bit about this part with you guys.
Hi everyone. So working with contractors, I get a question all the time. The question is, how do I get to the bidding part of the whole thing? And so I'm going to go over that. So you enrolled, that's how you're here already. You've already taken the first steps, so that's great. Next is developing a work plan. So you'll have your contractor development manager contact you. We'll go through a series of questions. These questions, it's really just to get to know you, your goals, your company, and also your concerns. A lot of the times I'll either have somebody saying, oh, I'm trying to get bonded, I just don't understand how, or I want to know the intricacies of it before I even go through that. Other times it's like, I want to expand my company, and where can I find somebody to hire? Just think about all the questions you have to ask during that meeting. So that's where we really get to know you and your goals and basically the obstacles that you face, and we'll create a work plan for you. And so I would say in the beginning phases, everybody looks at their work plan and they focus on it. They normally print it out and they use it. Maybe 2 months go by, you forget about it. You can always contact your contractor development manager. They can resend it to you. And sometimes once, for example, certification sometimes takes 3-4 weeks. You might forget about this work plan. You're like, oh, what's the next step? Just go ahead and email us. We'll send you another copy. But then you can go through that work plan and it's like a checklist. You're like, okay, I finished my certifications. What's the next step? And so, like, for example, the next step would be like, okay, your DIR or bonding. Let's say your DIR bonding, you're checking that off. You refer back to it. What's my next step? And once you go through that entire work plan, you're ready to bid public opportunities. So I would say obtaining certifications, it varies through different agencies, but I would say it really goes as fast as you put in the work. If you're able to gather all your documents efficiently, then you'll get it done quickly. A lot of the times we understand you're doing your private jobs and you're still building your business on your own. So, we want to be there to just kind of help you push forward, remind you of these things. So if you do get any emails from us reminding you, hey, did you get your documents for your certification? We're not trying to bother you, but we definitely want to make sure that you're getting it done as fast as you can, because the more that you elongate that time, the longer it's going to take for them to process all your documents. And also it gives you time to ask questions. Okay, what am I signing? You want to make sure you understand what you're signing, so you have enough time to ask us, okay, every document, what does this document mean? Once you do your certifications, you can either do this before or after is securing bonding. So if you're interested in getting bonded, I know a lot of the times I have a background in doing private jobs, so commercial, residential. It's a bit different as far as the bonding. So normally I ask the question, are you bonded? I get the answer yes. And so then we talk through, okay, but are you bonded for public works? And normally I get the answer no. So then we'll work with you and answer your questions on how can you get approved, kind of what's the overview. And I always give stats on like how often contractors either get denied, and if they get denied, what are the next steps? If they get approved, what's normally the range? So I like to answer those questions for everyone, and it gives everybody the confidence to know it's not as intimidating as it seems. Normally when the broker calls you and they start asking you these questions, people get a little nervous, but as your CDM, we're here to answer all the questions before you even go through that process. But your goal is for sure to secure bonding. Without bonding, you can't bid public projects. And then moving forward is finding bidding opportunities. So one thing I also recommend, going through that work plan, there's a bunch of links. These links go to the agency's portal, and when you sign up for this portal, there are bidding opportunity specific pages. People get lost, there's 1,000 links on there. Again, we're here to help you navigate through the portal. On the portal, you'll have a bunch of links of different bidding opportunities. So I suggest even before bidding, start researching whatever your trade is. Just type it in. Let's say you're not bonded, that's fine. Just start typing in what your trade is and start pulling up what's currently bidding. So you start getting used to reading these, I would say, these bidding opportunities, what the requirements are, what the insurance requirements are, because you don't want to be ready to bid, and now this is your first time looking at these types of documents. You want to make sure that you're pretty much studying in advance. So I would say even tonight, you could go on the City of LA's bidding opportunity website, which is RAM, and just start clicking your trade and just start opening, like the information is available. Just start reading through it, getting familiar with it, and get comfortable with it. As well as writing questions. So when you do talk to your CDM, you're like, hey, I read this document, what does this mean? I read this requirement, what does that mean? So that's a great way to prepare yourself. And then as soon as you find a bidding opportunity that fits your trade as well as your bonding capacity, you can attend a pre-bid. The pre-bids are either in person or, through like Microsoft Teams. And I would definitely recommend to start attending the pre-bids, even for a small job. You're like, hey, this job's too small, I don't know if I'm gonna make money off it. Still attend and still go after it, because you get accustomed to going to these pre-bids, being responsible, adding it to your calendar, and making sure that you're learning about these opportunities. That's really important, because I've seen time and time again, they go to their first pre-bid, they don't understand how to sign in, they forget to sign in, they get disqualified for bidding. So, the sooner that you start getting familiar with it, the better it is as far as like your long-term outcome. And then, so just the final statement is just here how crucial it is to be successful in securing these contracts, really from enrollment, from obtaining your work plan, finishing your certifications, finding relevant bidding opportunities that involve research, networking within the industry, attending the pre-bids to have deeper insights into the project requirements, as well as it provides opportunities to establish relationships with key decision makers like Linda today. And then as well as long as you're doing all these steps, these are really crucial steps to effectively position yourself to bid these public opportunities effectively.
So, Carla, question for you. Okay. So when you attend these pre-bids, what should they expect?
Yeah, so when you show up, you're definitely going to either in person, you're going to see a room of contractors just like this. First question is, where do I sign in? Because a lot of the times you might forget, you might start networking and you want to sign in the first 15 minutes because you start walking the job, and if you don't do that, I mean, they don't even know you're there, so you're kind of wasted your time. Mm-hmm. Next, they're really going to go over what the scope of work is in very simple terms. Again, that's why I recommend to go through the documents and really read in depth into what the project is. As well as you'll meet the project manager, which is important. You get to meet the project manager face to face. You have I would say from a week to 2 weeks of open window for asking questions. You'll see that as well when you look at the opportunities that say like the final date to submit questions is X date, but it's normally 2 weeks from the pre-bid. So when you meet that project manager in person, it's kind of nice to introduce yourself, because when they see your name come up in an email, like, hey, I remember that guy, he introduced himself, let me get back to him a little quicker. So you definitely want to, create those relationships and introduce yourself, and you'll walk the job most of the time if it's in person. If not, I would say the virtual ones, they do bring up the plans, and you can kind of see an overview of the project, so that's helpful and gives you a visual. Again, why I recommend to go to the pre-bids. And you'll get to network. You see the sign-in sheet, you see kind of who your competition is, but maybe it's somebody that, for example, you want to just work with. So definitely always pay attention to the sign-in sheet as well, because that could benefit you.
Yeah, and also if there are major general contractors there, it's your opportunity to network with them, because they have goals. Like Linda, what's like what your SBE goals or most of your bigger jobs? Was it like 10, 12%, 13%?
Well, it varies by project.
Right.
But, and especially for like Los Angeles World Airports, they have a local small business program where the primes literally have to subcontract out a specific portion of the contract to subcontractors that are certified as both a City of LA local business and a small business.
Could I say something about the bonding? The certification?
Go ahead.
It took me less than, once Metro got my application, within 2 weeks they had approved it. That's how fast they move. And the thing is, for the city, I talked to Lisa Jones a lot, certification. See, the City of LA, they only recognize the DBE for Metro. Because Metro, I got certified as a local small business and SBE, which the City of LA, they don't recognize that because they have their own. So in order for you to get certified in the City of LA as a SBE, LSBE, and other certifications they have, you gotta, contact Lisa Jones or the city and get certified through them. But like I said, the City of LA will only acknowledge the DBE for Metro. Everything else they won't.
That was the question I was going to ask.
Let Linda, can you clarify that, please?
Yes, and just so you know, so Lisa does work for me. I oversee certifications amongst other things. For Metro, City of LA does recognize the DBE certification, but along with DBE, because predominantly DBEs are also meet the qualifications as a minority or women business, we will look at that DBE certification for Metro and recognize it as a minority or women business as well, assuming they meet the qualifications. Metro also has an SBE certification. We do recognize that for our SBE proprietary certification, which is only used by our proprietary departments, Los Angeles World Airports, Department of Water and Power, and Port of Los Angeles.
See, I was misinformed, because I know I had to get the general service.
That is for the council-controlled city departments, so
Okay.
the non-proprietary.
Okay.
That's correct. And part of that is the proprietary SBE certification is a much higher level. So for instance, for that, you can make as a general contractor, I think the latest is 34, it might be 38 million annually, and you're considered small. For City of LA council controlled, a small business on the construction side is less than 14 million annually.
Well, anyways, Lisa Jones, she's awesome. She's friendly, she'll answer.
I'm gonna keep
questions.
rolling
She
here.
makes time for you, and I know she's super busy, so
That's great to
she's
hear.
awesome.
There was one other, I think it was a question up front and then here.
She answered it. I was just gonna ask, what is the significance of having the, like, we have a DBE, and currently we're trying to get our SBE, and then I think we're trying to get an MBE, but it's like, what significance would it be to have the certification that you've already been?
Okay, so DBE on federally funded projects is very important as well. So if you're looking at something that's federal highway, FTA, FAA funding, so for those projects, they all have a DBE goal. A prime has to meet that goal or do what's called a DBE good faith effort. That DBE good faith effort, the threshold for passing it is so high. I've only seen a couple of primes do it in like the last 10 years. So basically, they pretty much have to meet that DBE goal, which unless they're a DBE prime, they really need those DBE subs.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay. Then one last question, David?
So we have enrolled with the Contractors Development Program a while ago, and we received so much help so far because, they help us to obtain all the certifications, and also we have already an online established, and we went through all the financials as well, so there's also help with that, and it's been all great. So now we have, let's say, okay, our bond line is about, we are general contractors, so our bond line is 300,000, right? So now when we are looking at this bidding opportunities, right, they mostly are kind of starting with 1 million up, and so roof, like sky is the limit, right? So my question is, what would be the best strategy for us, for a small business with, kind of small bond line that we receive to target those opportunities? Is it to partner up with the prime contractors? Is it maybe there are other ways to kind of put the foot in so we can start? Because we are small and we kind of look for help to kind of to start.
Now that's good that you know what your bondability is, right? Well, also within this program, we have collateral, up to $250,000 that we can use to help increase your bond line. That's why we work with the sureties. So, there's opportunity. Say if it's a $700,000, $700,000 or whatever it is, we could use that money to help you get to that level. Sometimes, they can even go, all right, 250 is the max. They might even take you to $1 million. Just depends on your background too. So that's why we have that collateral it's a pool of funds that the city has that we can borrow to get that bond line up bigger for you for that project, then that's where the third-party funds administration comes in that will monitor it, pay your bills. Once the job is over, then that collateral gets put back into the city pool of funds. So that's one way that you can do it. Then after you complete a couple jobs, then you go reapply for your bond, you might get a bigger bond line.
Okay, well, that's definitely helpful.
Yeah.
And is there any way that we could kind of, like, I mean, establish this collateral to know what we can target? So, for instance, now I know we can go higher, right? But
That's,
I know for sure that I'm safe to bid for 700,000 because there is collateral. At what point will I know?
I would say, we'll find the right size projects for you that's close to what you have. It might be a little bit more, but that's when we work with the surety and everybody else to see if we can get you bumped up, But if you're at 300 and you said million, I don't know if we can get you up to that way. So that's why you got to find the right size for you to get the experience to gradually move up.
So would you say the best way would be,
Work with your contract development manager to help strategize that, okay?
that's, okay.
Yeah.
I would say a quick overview is just really like we can either go two directions where we tell you, hey, go get subcontracts that are smaller that fit into that 300,000, or there are actually opportunities that are at 300,000 and below. They do come fewer, but we're able to navigate and show you, hey, you made incredible interest into wanting to gain a $300,000 project. This one's 150, and we'll focus on getting that to you. So there are opportunities, but there's two ways to go about it. And if you didn't want to go the collateral route as well. And then, for example, if you were to win one project, two projects, minimum, let's say they're $50,000 or $100,000, as the months go on, you can go back to the surety and say, hey, I've successfully completed these two public projects, although they're smaller, how much can you increase my bonding? So it's just really keeping track of successfully completing projects and then getting that information and, for example, letters of recommendation from the projects that you finish, and then going back to the surety and saying, hey, look what I can do. I can successfully finish these projects, and this is my proof. So that's another way to go about
Building
it.
credit then, right?
Yes.
You're
Okay.
right. It's about just finding the right opportunity, the size that will.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay.
On a positive note, I've seen it happen.
Yeah. All right. One last question. We got to keep moving with this class here, because make sure during the breaks, ask the questions too. Yes, sir.
So when you're talking about the bonding capability, is that the surety bond? Or that's what that's pertaining?
Yeah, the surety is going to work, to get a bondability for you. Yeah. So you'll know what your bond line is for public works and stuff. Yes.
I'm having an issue with that right now in regards to, like you said, the background, where they want, the surety companies that they refer me to, they won't back me as of yet, so they want me just to wait some time.
Yeah, they can do that, and Rosa is our surety specialist back there. But, the quick qualifier is like a 2-pager, right? And it is kind of based on your credit score too, your personal credit score. And if that doesn't, then there's a long form they go into more in depth. So maybe it was the quick qualifier.
No, they said my credit was good, but when they went to the background, that's where the issue came up.
Rosa, you want to chime in on this one?
So, New Beginnings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so his case is a little bit different, so I will have to talk to him off.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay. So she's here to help you there. Okay.
I gotta ask a question.
Okay. Last question, man.
Last one, promise.
Before the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, pertaining to what he's saying about his bonding capacity, a joint venture won't help him?
Yeah.
When it comes to bonding and it's joint venture, they're still gonna look at both of your credit and the other company's credit. So it's not.
But if I have immaculate credit,
But if the other person or the other company you're joining with doesn't have immaculate credit, they're gonna look at both of you. And maybe if you were to get bonding on your own up to a certain amount, when the new company comes in, it's gonna decrease your capacity. Because they're gonna look at both companies, not just yours.
so it'll decrease my bonding capacity.
As
If I was
joint
to have a
venture,
joint.
yes. As you, just your company, it'd be a different amount.
Okay. Thank you, Rosa.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get going here. And like I said, the break will
No
be.
script today.
Huh?
No script.
No script. So, construction documents, is issued for construction. Those are the plans that you're going to be bidding off. and they'll be stamped, IFC on there, or, it's been reviewed by Plan, Check, and Approve. Those are the ones that you can be building off of. Specification, general notes, read through the specifications so you understand exactly what you're building, your system there. And the general notes, back in the old days, say if you're electrical, all your information would have been on electrical sheets. Now it's on the architect, it's on the finished plan, it's on general notes. They're all over the place now with your notes. If you're electrical, HVAC, you have to read everything to make sure you don't have scope gap. So once you're going to be bidding a job, read everything, front to back, so you know what's going on. Understand the preliminary schedule. If you need to know where your scope is going to fit into the overall project. Because, if you're a small, contractor and you're going after a job and you look at when it's going to start and when your piece comes in, you might not have the resources to do that job. And then what are you going to do? So that's what looking at the schedule. The owner requirements and special instructions. Owner requirements is, all right, it's going to be, day work, or it could be weekend. They want accelerated. All that is in the owner requirements. Read that because the insurance requirements are in there. Everything is pretty much in there, special instructions. So, those are like the 4 major areas in construction documents that you should receive when you're doing it. And make sure you establish, time frames and milestones once you start to bid. It's like if the bid is due 6 weeks away, take that date, subtract 1 day, and then do your schedule. Because you should always be finished with your proposal 1 day in advance so you can submit it. Because if you don't, and they say it's due on March 13th at 2 p.m., you wait until 1 p.m. to take it over there or to submit it, and there's an issue, you can't submit it, you missed the cutoff. So that's why you always want to plan in advance and give yourself 1 day before it's due. And if you're bidding to a general contractor, same thing. If they say, I want it on Thursday, make sure you're finished by Wednesday. So you have time to digest it, look at it, and say, here. Because then they might come back to you and say, hey, something's not right here. And you still have time to redo your numbers. That's when you go into a GC. But for Public Works, once you submit it, it's there. But you need to make sure you got your numbers right. So don't rush it, is what I'm trying to tell you to do. So what is construction bidding? Anybody want to answer this one? What is bidding? Come on.
It's understanding scope, basically defining the scope and then creating a number based on that responsibility of the scope.
Okay.
My understanding is that you do a takeoff, then figure out your material, your labor,
Yep.
and your profit and your overhead.
Yep, that's part of it. See, it's the process of providing a potential customer. So I'm not going to read all, but you guys got it all right. I'm losing my voice in here. So, it's really wrapping your arms around the project, right? And what are you bidding? What are the requirements? How are you going to get paid? What's the incidentals? All that, so that's what bidding is about, and it's not the bid, bidding is different from estimate. Estimating is the takeoffs and your pricing. The bid is putting everything together, and that's your bid proposal that you're submitting. Because some people use the word estimating and bidding interchangeable. They're 2 different words. They mean 2 different things. So, what are the 3 major shapes, in bidding? Is your project delivery method, procurement method, contract type. So, what's your delivery? Public Works, most of the time, is going to be design, bid, build. That is where they have hired a design team, engineers, and have came up with the plans and specs, and everybody's bidding apples to apples. Then also have, now you see design, build. That is another thing that's in there. So does anybody know the difference between design, bid, build, and design, build?
Working on metro projects, I know a lot of the projects were design built, which, my understanding from my project manager is that things things are never in stone, that things could change. Metro could come and say, well, we want this now, or Metro had, in other words, kind of say, the authority to change or modify things on the project.
Yeah, they can do that. With the difference between the two, design, bid, build puts more of the potential risk on the owner because it's what they and their team have come up with, and it takes a longer process. Design, build put more of that risk on the general contractor and their team, because the owner is only going to come up with a conceptual plan, maybe about 75% complete, right? And this is what I want. And if you're a general contractor on a design build, you got to get your MEPs and some others and come up with it because you're going to design it. That's what it is. You're more designing and building it versus the owner designing, bidding it, and building it. And it makes the jobs go faster too, because the owner's like, I got $1 million, design, build. Okay, here's 75% documentation. You guys give me a price on it. Then that's when you're going to get your team together, come up with the price. And then you're right, it's on you. It's more risk on you because you own that project at that point. And it's less change orders that's going to happen on design build because it's your money. You got to give them a finished product at the end. I know. Design, bid, build is, it could be errors and omissions on that design team. And it's a change order. Oh, then you can come back and get more money. But then the owner's going to go back to the design team and get the money back because they messed up. Construction management risks, you don't really see a lot of it. Procurement method, public works is low bid. You are starting to see best value. What best value is about is, okay, you give a number, but what value can you also give? That is within some of your qualifications. You can say, hey, you're asking for X, Y, Z, but I have found something that's better than X, Y, and Z, cheaper, and it meets or exceeds your expectation or your specifications. That is showing value because you are telling the owner, hey, I have your best interest. I can find a better way to build what you're asking for. And then it could be also the number of years experience on your project team. For me, it was about superintendent. Who's out there? Because that's the person that's building that job, right? It's not the project manager. Who's in the field? Can I trust that person that's in the field? That's value that you're adding to this project. So those are the things that they're looking at when they're doing best value and low bid. Sole source is a direct where they don't have to put it out to bid, it's an indirect bid. The contract types, you can lump sum, whatever your bottom line number is, and if you're the lowest responsible, best value, then you're gonna be winning the job. At that point, that's the money you get. However you manage it is on you. But when it's a guaranteed maximum price, it's more of an open book. You can say, I can do it for $100,000. So at the end of the job, you're gonna reconcile your books. And if you have any unused funds, it goes back to the owner. So that's what GMP is. You'll see that a lot in commercial buildings because the owner has X amount of funds and they don't want you to keep their extra money. They want it back at the end. Yeah, so whenever you see the GMP, be prepared, you got to show everything. Yes. Unit price, that can be used like on maintenance contracts, costs, so those are like the three different areas for construction. Anybody got any questions so far on this? Yes, sir, Sean.
What would be like a time and material type contract, just for like a small thing?
Time and material could also fit under a unit price, but you could say, all right, I want a time and material for your work, but not to exceed.
Yeah.
So not to exceed 200,000, right? But I want to see your daily tickets. So that's a time and material because if you're 80% through the job and you've used up that 200,000, You know, say, hey, I need some more. Well, why? You know, so that's the time and material. Or if you're on it, yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I just thought I'd jump in. So one of the ways City of LA uses time and material is on our emergency sewer and storm drain repair contracts.
Okay.
They're on call, it comes up, there's no time to do a design bid build.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
simply
yeah.
time and material, stipulated prices to get this done.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. Even with change order sometimes, it's a time and material because you don't have time to get it done, like she
Yeah.
said. It's like, hey, what is it? All right, don't go over this. Go, time and material. Any other questions? So what is estimating? I kind of gave it away, right? All right, anybody want to regurgitate what I said?
Takeoffs.
Yeah.
Takeoffs and checking your whole, what you got, what you're gonna use, what you're gonna not use, how it's gonna go, estimate your project complete so you can bid appropriately.
Yep. Yeah, and bottom line is your estimate is, you know, is real. It's all that stuff, you know. Learn skills as you're looking at the plan. Something could be missed. It's not called out, but you know your system, right? You know what it takes, all the nuts and bolts to build that system. So that's the estimating. It's like, okay, then how many man hours is it going to take for you to complete it? You know, you're estimating again. And then all that is just the estimate. You're putting it together, you're pulling all this out, you're estimating, and then you put it together, and that's how you get your bid. So it's the foundation of your bid, is your estimating.
What about unforeseen conditions in the estimate?
You can put a line item in there that says contingency, unforeseen conditions, or if it happens in the field, say if you're bidding design, bid, build, right? And you can't be adding any other numbers. Mm-hmm. Now, once you get started, you can do a change order for unforeseen conditions because if the report from their design team, engineers didn't find it and you're out there excavating and you find all these underground utilities and stuff, that's kind of unforeseen. Another unforeseen is asbestos. You know, it's like, hey, where's that report that said this building has been tested? You know, anything like that, or, you know, you're up in the ceiling, TIs, you're going to get a lot of unforeseen conditions and TIs too. There is a couple types of unforeseen conditions. There's the known unknown and the unknown unforeseen condition. Because you know it's going to be something up there, and then sometimes you don't know nothing else. Like, boom, there it is. You know, so those are the kinds that you got to be prepared for. And in order to do that, sometimes when you're doing your pricing, you're going to pad your numbers a little bit, right? Because you're not going to give that bottom number. You know, this estimating is like, okay, I'm going to pad it like 10, 12% more to cover yourself in case you do come across something that you scope gap or you missed it. You got the money there to cover it without coming back to me, say, hey, I need a change order. Also, if you're GC and you're getting competitive bids and you got a chance to win that job, you're going to go back to your suppliers and say, give me your best and final. So, you know, they're going to be kicking, no, this is my best. No, it's not. They can knock off, say, knock off 5%. They can do it because they want the job too. And you're still going to make the money. All right, stop. But you're still going to make money. That's how you're negotiating with the estimate because it's an estimate. It's not hard facts. You know, it should be. Most your numbers should come within 3 to 5% at the end. You know, that means you're estimating really well. Yes, sir.
I have a question. So most of the jobs that I'm submitting, I guess my bids to, I usually bid as a subcontractor because I do trucking and construction aggregates.
Mm-hmm.
And so my day job, I work for a Fortune 500, so I'm pretty familiar with how they do business. And one of the things that I kind of have found is that with the bigger companies, the Fortune 500 companies, they give like a really big discount when it's like a big amount of aggregates. So does the DBE, like, does that certification help you? Like, you know how you're saying to pad 10 or 15%, but it's like, how do you compete against these big companies?
You
if
don't,
you
yeah.
pad
Yeah, don't pad it too much. That's another thing. And to be honest, where you guys most of the time lose out to a bigger firm is not on the work itself, it's on your general conditions. You know, your admin, your insurance, because larger companies, their insurance premium is a lot lower than yours. So that's how, you know, you're not, it's hard to win sometimes on against a bigger, because their overheads and profit, you know, is different from yours. You know, you can be head to head on the work, but it's the soft cost is what I call overhead and profit, where you had to be higher because your insurance is going to be higher. You know, those kind of things, because they can spread out their accountants and engineers over multiple jobs, where you got to be dedicated 100%. So that's driving up your general conditions as well.
We also additional, I mean, not saying in your case, but if you are taking some financing for the job, that's another cost to your bid, right?
Yeah.
Drive the price.
Yeah, the financial cost, yeah. So those are why, you know, that's why, you know, there's always a preference. Help me on this one, Linda. You know, it's when, you know, DBEs, SBEs get, is it like a 5% or whatever it is, kind of a preference to help 10%. To help their numbers.
So for the federal regs, the DBEs, you know, I already mentioned about how those projects, you have to meet that DBE goal in order to be a responsive bidder. With that, along the lines of that DBE good faith effort I mentioned to you that I've rarely seen anyone pass because it's so stringent, one of the things that an awarding authority has to look at is for the DBEs that they received a bid for and rejected, why they rejected them. And if there is a minor price difference, so that DBE's price is just a little bit higher, that's not a valid reason. The expectation is that they will meet the DBE goal, and if it means paying a little bit more, the federal government is good with that. Now, it can't be excessive, but
Yeah.
Right.
yes, we've seen it, and we have failed companies because they rejected a DBE that was, say, $10,000 more on $100,000 worth of subcontracting work. Because by rejecting that DBE, they didn't meet the goal.
Yeah. So there's chances out there.
That DBE certification, if you're in that work, it is very helpful.
Yeah.
And then in terms of preferences, things like, for the city, our local business preference.
Yeah, that's-
is big. That one, as a local business that's a prime, you get currently 8%. We're actually in the process of changing that, where if you are a certified local business that's located in the city of Los Angeles, that preference will, to start with, will be 10%.
That's what they told us, yeah. Because we're in Wilshire, and we have a DBE, and they told us 10%.
So, yeah, yes, the local business, and if you're local small, you can get additional preference points.
And I have a question for you. So I heard through the last, I think it was, LA Metro has like a monthly meeting, I forgot what it's called, but they kind of touched on the point that I guess the big companies are trying to get rid of the DBE certifications. I'm not sure if you've heard about that.
Wouldn't surprise me, quite honestly. And if you think about some of the cases that have been through the Supreme Court, there's certainly been a concern. You know, when you look at what's happening with the colleges, even the private colleges, you know, that there's been talk about whether or not the DBE program will continue, but as of right now, it's continuing.
Cool. Thank you, Linda. She's always saving me here. That's great. Another thing about estimate is your number is only good as what your takeoffs are. So if you mess up on your takeoffs and your pricing is off, then your estimate is off, right? So it's only as good as it is. So, you want to make sure that you double check numbers, your linear foot, square feet, double check. We'll have some different programs that will show you throughout the academy here to use. I use Bluebeam. Anybody else use Bluebeam? It's great. It is inexpensive. You can take the plans, the digital ones. You can calibrate. You can get your square feet, linear feet. You can color code it. It's great.
Is that connected to like a data where it pulls like rates for labor?
No.
It's just for
Yeah, it's just getting, yeah. I mean, you can do other things with Bluebeam. You can take a PDF and edit it and put it back in PDF. You can do a lot. It's very strong. Other GCs use it where they have I think it's called Architect Suite or something is in there, where you can share plans as well through it. It's a great tool. It's not expensive.
The Pro is $400 a year.
Yeah, and it's worth it, man.
What is
Yeah.
it called, Bluebeam?
Bluebeam.
And it's primarily for takeoff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, mainly
$400
takeoff.
for the year, you can do just about anything on it.
Yeah, they have classes too for it.
How would you compare the Bluebeam with, let's say, I think it's called RS Mini?
RS means is strictly pricing. That's different from a takeoff. Bluebeam say, all right, here's your plans, right?
Yeah.
You want to know what the square foot of this area is. You go in there. That's all it's going to give you out of Bluebeam. RS means it's like, okay, you're going to find your material, your labors, or whatever it is. And that's kind of a national, so you would have to almost tweak it a little bit for the LA area. Because I took the class years ago. RS means is good, but it's difficult to deal with
Does
sometimes.
it read the plans?
No,
No.
no. It's all data entry. You're putting in your
So you
quantity.
have to actually use two softwares, right?
Yes.
For takeoff and then transfer, and use this one to come up with the rates and.
Yes, sir. It
But
doesn't
this,
come.
okay, but you say it's on national, so then you have to adjust it, right?
Yeah, RS means can be adjusted for local.
I have Bluebeam and Procore. Procore
Yeah.
will do everything.
Yeah.
It will give you your layout, it'll give you your square footage, it'll do your line or lineal footage, and then it'll literally tell you, like your sill plate count, your vertical stud count.
It counts, yeah.
Your double plate count, it'll tell you everything.
So let's say if you need to
Procore.
adjust,
Yeah.
if you need to adjust the rates on that, right? And we are dealing here with the public works, so we have the prevailing wage and the labor burden and so on. Right? So would that have to be done manually, like? Because
I think the easiest way, because I do a class every Thursday for guys. I teach a class on Thursdays for it.
You're hired.
I'm coming, where's it at?
I tell the guys that I train that it's easier to stick with like an Excel file if you understand the formula, and it translates. Like Bluebeam will literally translate the formula for you. Like it's like that quick. It's just super easy. You put it in. If you understand the Excel formula, you attach that to your Bluebeam, and it'll just do everything for you.
Right.
Really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have some templates that, yeah,
What's your take on OST and QuickBits?
it's expensive.
That's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, for you guys, like you, Rudy was just saying, Excel spreadsheet is, a lot of, it's easy and you get the formulas in there. I have some templates, with bid leveling and all that I'll share with you guys throughout the even for general conditions. I have almost everything.
Send the actual Excel, because I went to LAUSD bootcamp, and they did send us the estimating templates, but they were only in PDF.
It takes 15 minutes to know the formula.
Yeah,
15 minutes.
but like I said, everything that I'll share with you guys is Excel.
Yeah, it's easy.
So you can work with it. Now, if you mess up some of the formulas, it's not on me. And, just double check the numbers, make sure they add up, because, I could have messed up over the last 20 years of it. But I'm giving you these tools to use, all right?
So I have a So
Uh-huh.
so let's say, okay, if you're a specialty contractor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you know your rates, right? You know
Mhm.
the labor costs and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a general contractor and you're bidding on multiple, there's multiple pieces to put
Mhm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I use general rates, that might be not good for me, right? Because I actually need to use, I would say, a subcontractor who will be bidding on that product, right?
Right. What you can do over time, you're going to start creating your own historical data.
Right. Okay.
Keep it in a spreadsheet, whatever it is. Each time you bid a job and you know it's finalized, keep those numbers because you're going to know. And
Yeah.
because that's how you're going to compare your subcontractors because you want to do your own estimate to make sure that he's right. Right?
Right, and also, I don't want to be depending on the subcontractors to return those bids to me on time. Because if I can create a system, right, where I can over time, like you say, collect the data, right, and say, okay, so I'm confident, I'm comfortable that over the last, let's say, year or so, the concrete guys are charging this much and this much, so I kind of maybe, is there a way to kind of build that system? So I, as a general contractor, can estimate the project.
You can. Like I said, keep your numbers, and over time, and you call out to your, you built relationships with your concrete guy. Hey, what's your cost right now? You're kind of building that relationship. But however, you're saying doing your own estimate, you can, but there's times where you're going to do you want to get at least 3 bids per trade to make sure that the numbers are right, because you're going to get one that's super high, super low, right? And what are you going to do? You're going to question that super low number if you kind of know where it's going to be. And then somebody's way high, that they just gave you a number, they just pulled it out and say, here's a number, So those are the things as a general contractor, get multiple bids on a trade so you know that you're getting the best cost and making sure that the scope is being covered, because they might say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to cover this, but then you got to find somebody else to cover that scope that subcontractor is not going to cover, because you want your number to be as best as it can. So that comes back to you've got the numbers in, and the sealant is not covered, right? And you don't have time to go back. You're going to plug that number in because you know what it is. You're going to plug that number into your bid. And then later you can go find a subcontractor, somebody to do it, because at least you got a number. And when that comes in, you're going to have to go back out and find somebody to do it and say, I only got $30,000 for sealant. So you're working with that amount of money. So you need to know what the costs are too, because you're going to have to plug in whatever time something is missing on the day of the bids. There's times I just highlighted in yellow on my bid level and it's like, okay, I know this is my plug number to make sure that I got it covered.
The 3 threes. I do the 3 threes. I have 3 concrete guys. I have 3 drywallers. I have 3. And that's the only.
Yeah.
I don't go buck wild on bid day. Like I need 8 drywallers to respond to my bids. I just do 3 and 3. And you develop these relationships with these guys over the course of time, and they get to know how you work, and you get to know how they work. And let's be real. I mean, we're all in it to make a profit. So we all have our own variances. We know to pad it no more than 13%.
Yeah.
We know not to go as low as 5% in
Yeah.
certain cases. But after a while, everybody seems to we all seem to gel together after the course of time because we've done so much work together. And I just stick to 3 guys.
Okay, so in that case, besides getting the bids from subcontractors, let's say 3, would you still go into the extent of doing the takeoff to make sure that,
It depends because everybody, okay, so there's non-prevailing and prevailing. This is pretty real. Going to DIR, you'll see everybody's rates. You call the local unions, you'll get everybody's rates. So you have to understand what the level of play is. You have to ask yourself, what's my level of play? I need to know the standard for all of my drywall. So I'll call the unions and I'll say, okay, what's the union rates here for this? And then I'll go on DIR. DIR has non-prevailing rates.
Yeah.
And so now I know what my yard looks like. I know where the numbers fit into play.
Yeah, the prevailing
And then when
wage.
my 3 guys come in and say, hey, here's my number, and I'm looking at the numbers and I can see the rate, I know what the variances are. I know if Steve, hey dog, you went too big.
Yeah.
Hey Juan, dog, I'm not trying to cheat you, but if I was you, I'd kind of raise that number up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So after the course of time, you just get to know the numbers because you're
Right.
out there. Like you're just really, and you want to just stay focused on that one thing. Like you're a drywaller, you just, you get your rates, But as a GC, like we're a GC, it's important for us to, we stay with the 3 3s. I need 3
Yeah.
concrete guys, 3 drywallers,
Mm-hmm.
3 electricians,
like
and
a-
so forth. And I know these guys' rates. Like I don't have to focus on 18 guys. Like I'm just 3 guys.
Yeah. And you're gonna,
Let's say, so just one question, right?
Okay.
Let's say we are bidding.
not, sorry.
Let's
I know
say-
you got a
let's say
question
we are
next.
bidding. Would the contractors development program help us, the contractors, to find those certified contractors, subcontractors, to help me to bid on a project? Because if I'm new and I'm going to call up the guys and say who you are, okay, that might not go as you kind of imagine, right? I call up and I will get response, yeah, I'll send you the bid, right? Would there be any assistance with that? Hey, Insky Construction is bidding on it, and here's the list of subcontractors, and they will turn the bids for you.
Yeah, I mean, as being enrolled in the program, you're entitled to everybody that's enlisted in this program. Carla, what about 1,500 contractors or something that's in our database? So if you are looking for a certain trade, reach out to your CDM. Hey, I want to bid. Do you have drywallers?
Okay, that's what I actually wanted to ask.
Yeah. So with that, if you're in the program, you've been vetted. We've been working with you. We know who they are, and we're going to make sure that within our database that we have their current license is up to date, all that, so that way when you're asking for these, they're active, they're still able to do work in the state of California with your contractor's license. So that is what you can do. You utilize. That's what the whole thing, networking in here, is getting to know people. And if not, reach out, say, I'm bidding this job. Can you give me a list of electrical people? That's how we build a program, is working with amongst ourselves. Because that's how we grow.
So for instance, for all those who don't know, Jacobs, the prime contractor, they will be building the purifying facility here in LA, and I just went for one of their outreach event. And the beauty about it is that they don't require bonding from subcontractors, although they might have maybe higher level of pre-qualification in terms of safety and so on, but you can get in there no problem, right? And it's still time to do that. So you can just ask the guys from contractor bonding program.
Yeah.
So here we have been pre-qualified, but now I want to bid on flooring, tile, and maybe some other, maybe drywall. So here would be great help if I could turn into you guys and ask for those like subcontractors stuff.
Yeah. I know you got a question, then I'm going to respond to something you had said.
My
So,
question was answered somewhere along the conversation, but it was more so in terms of, with a lot of these public works contracts, is there a requirement to use companies that have already been, I guess, vetted by the organization, in a sense, or not?
no, it's just, you're going to get a better, firm. Because they've been trained, they have their certs, all that kind of stuff.
This is usually union. Metro, that you can only use subcontractors.
Linda's coming up again. I'm glad she stayed here.
It depends.
I
So that
got you
goes
next.
Back to the beginning in terms of going through those bid proposal documents. And that's one of those things that will come up at a pre-bid meeting too. So for us, we've had projects where there was something very special. I think it was our Machado Lake project. We did have a pre-qualified list of contractors for a specific portion of that scope of work, which had to do with putting some sort of, I think it was like a clay seal underwater. So those were pre-qualified. You had to use one of those 4 companies. But the rest of it, it was best bid.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question for you based on what he's saying. So I do truck brokering, I have dump trucks, but I haven't yet landed a contract with the city. But my question is, I'm a DBE company, so if they need, let's say, a truck that I don't have, that I have a subcontractor, do they have to also be DBE? Or does it fall under my company? How does that work?
So if it's a federally funded DBE project, quite honestly, from an administrative standpoint, we hate DBE truckers. Because if you own it and you're doing it with your own trucks, no problem. But when you're brokering, in order for the prime and for us to monitor and get that DBE credit, you're right. They have to be DBE certified, whoever you're brokering out
Got
to.
it.
So we have to follow that paper trail
Yeah.
down the
Can I
rabbit
say
hole.
something, Linda, following that? Well, my last company that I was Washay, we did the Crenshaw LAX line, right? And anytime was the broker out there. And not you, I mean, I love Bobby Evans, I worked with him from Flatiron, we did the Expo line, right? So I've known him since then, that he would hire truckers that had 3 trucks. Yeah, that guy that Bobby hired, he would, without Bobby's knowledge, would hire other people right behind his back and pay them way less and charge Bobby, let's say, the prevailing wage, whatever it was. So, I mean, me as a foreman, I was aware of it, but I was like, I don't want to rat, yeah. I just kept quiet, you know what I mean? And I never mentioned to Bobby that, I mean, they do that. I mean, some of these truck drivers do that. I mean, if you're gonna subcontract, yeah, they're gonna charge you a rate, but they're gonna, be scabs and rent it out. Instead of paying the guy $30, he's only paying $25.
That kind of becomes a risk to your profit line as well. Because keep in mind that the labor code, not public contract code, labor code gives them up to 18 months after the project is closed to come back and say, I wasn't paid properly. And now you have to pay them as well as penalties.
Penalties.
Yeah,
That's certified payroll.
yeah, that sucks.
Certified payroll. That's why, CUF, commercially useful function, has to come into play with you, as it's a certain percentage you have to do as well if you're going to be subbing out. So it's a lot of gray areas when you're subbing out and they're not a DBE and you are, and it's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's a headache, to track all that, and that's why they got compliance officers. That's all they do. They track that stuff. They do audits. You get audited on the job at the end, and you're off by 2 pennies per hour on that. You got to pay it. There could be fines too. I mean, you could be audited for a year. Going through that process because you didn't do it right. Don't cut corners. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you. Just be upfront, be honest,
Are there any courses on prevailing wage?
Yeah, we do have workshops on certified payroll prevailing wages. Yes.
Is there anyone?
Yeah, they have it as well. They have a class every month. Yes.
I couldn't find it.
It's online.
Yeah.
Look at bca.lacity.org.
I got the email, if you guys want, I can share the email with you, if you guys want.
Okay. All right, hold on here. Hold on.
Go through it, trust me, you'll learn everything.
Hold on.
You'll just
Calm
learn.
down. We got a time limit here, but make sure you also reach out to your CDM because they can get you the links. Because that's all in the work plan, and all these workshops that we do every month, they're going to be listed in the contract, the weekly that goes out. So when we do have certified payroll and all that, make sure you sign up for those workshops. And when the city has certain events, we're going to make sure you know about it too. We're a one-stop shop is what we're trying to get at. So you don't have to be bugging Linda, this and that. Go to your CDM. That's what we're here for. Sometimes I'm a CDM. Pull my hair out.
I have a follow-up question for Linda.
All right, last question here. We got to get going here.
So like for the last years, we're always using a broker. In my company, we've gone to jobs that are prevailing wages. At the time, we weren't at DBE, SB, anything, but we're still working there, and they're still asking us to submit everything in the DIR website, and we still do prevailing wages. So how do they get around that then?
They shouldn't, but it
That's
happens.
right.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that will happen on the prevailing wage side, electrical industry. We, in the last couple of years, have a couple of the large electrical contractors. We've gone after them. It's referred to as a portal-to-portal violation. They were having their workers show up at their yards at, say, 5:30, 6 a.m. to load the truck for the day, and then drive the truck to the job site. They would start, in terms of their payroll, they were saying that they started work at 7 a.m. when they reached the job site. But that's not true, because they were, required to show up to the yard and load everything. And then flip side, end of the day, they'd have a couple of workers, 3:30 comes, they're supposed to be off the clock. No, they had to drive the truck back to the yard, unload, but they weren't paying them for that. So, and did they do the payrolls? Absolutely. What did the payrolls show? 8 hours.
Wow, you were way back.
Yeah. Now, she has a lot of knowledge, too. So let's keep moving here. So there's a process for estimating, which is called a go or no-go. And this is something that you want to evaluate on each job. You're going to get the bid information. Are you going to decide, are you going to bid it or not? So if you're not, you're just going to be done. If you're going to go yes, then you're going to start going through the bid documents. The reason why I show this is if you've got other jobs, like I talked about the schedule, and this opportunity comes out, and you know that you don't have enough resources or whatever, so it's going to be a no. Or if all right, general contractor, hate to put you on the spot here. If you know that general contractor that's sending you this bid, and you know they're tough to deal with, do you want to work with them?
No.
Because not every job is good for you. You want to be selective of which ones you want to bid on and go after. Because it's a lot of work to be putting these bids together, right? That's overhead. Where are you paying for that at? Right? I mean, another thing is if a GC keeps coming to you time and time again, give me a number for this bid, and you don't get the job, say, hey, are you really considering me for this? Or you just need a number to say you did competitive bidding. So those kind of things, red flags come up real quick if you know who you're bidding to. So GCs, y'all can be great, sometimes you're not. I mean, I'm being honest, I'm just keeping it real in here. I mean, because, it's like, you're going to look at your subcontract agreement that's coming from that GC, right? And you're going to want to negotiate the terms and conditions. And they're like, no, sign it. Do you want to work with somebody like that don't even want to hear your side of the story? No, because you might not say, hey, I can't pay 30 days. Can we do 15? Things like that. You want to negotiate before you sign it. And if they said, no, you got to sign, this is as is, be cautious. So that's why that whole go, no go comes in, not just on the numbers. It's just, do you want to put yourself through that headache? And then they could be like, oh, this is a great company. I might be able to make it happen. Then go through the process, get the documents, review the bid documents, go do a site walk, notify your subcontractor, your suppliers. It's like, here's the plans. Hey, give me your numbers. You do your takeoff too. Then you're going to price your own work if you're self-performing. To some GCs, you might self-perform drywall, demo, something like that. And it's good that you self-perform a certain trade because you then have the opportunity to bid to a big general contractor. So that's a few times you'll see a GC bid to a GC if, you've got a scope, if you self-perform something. Or if they just want to give you the work too as a small GC, they can do that. But it gives you upper hand if you self-perform a work. Cleanup, final clean. That's an easy one for you guys to self-perform, right? Then you can say, hey, I'm a GC, but I self-perform cleaning. So, understand that, and then you want to manage it, and like I said, with the time frame, making sure that you're reviewing everything, timely fashion, asking questions. Carla talked about sending the questions, RFI, request for information. That is like within the first 2 weeks of the bid. You send in your questions. They will gather all the questions and then send out the RFI response to everybody, so everybody gets the same information that was asked. So you're still bidding on apples to apples. So that's the fairness of RFIs. Once you win the job, you can continue with RFIs. If something is gray or you don't understand, send an RFI, just get a clarification. And you're going to document that on your RFI log, et cetera, et cetera. Then, you're going to kind of summarize. What I always did, I had like a cover sheet that kind of listed what I'm going to do. Here's some exclusions. You're going to do maybe some add alts, deducts, all that kind of things on a front sheet. So that way, they say, hey, let me, yes, all that is, you want to put it there so I know that you understand what you're doing. Sometimes you can't, you can submit it to a GC or something, but they're just looking at the numbers too. But, that's that best value of using that cover sheet is what the qualified, exclusion. So they know what you're bidding and not bidding. So it's just helping there. Then you're going to submit. And then once you submit the job in, with Public Works, they're going to read bid day. They're going to open it and say, here's the numbers. During that time frame, if some people want to challenge some of the numbers, they can do that. And if you were not a successful bidder, you can ask them for like a debrief. And they're not going to, go into a lot of details of, why you're off on this line item or whatever. They're going to say, well, you're off a little bit because of this. GCs, I advise you to do that with your suppliers if they were not successful bidders. Take the time and work with them so they understand what they did wrong. So the next time they can improve their numbers to have a better chance to win. If you don't do that debrief, how do you know how to improve? So ask for that, and
A lot of GCs seem bothered. Sorry to interrupt, but sometimes I do that. I try to follow up and go, hey, what's going on? And it seems like it's a bother. I don't know if you guys GCs, how you guys feel about that.
I take the time to talk to my guys.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's a good GC. They're going to take the time,
I
yeah.
get a lot of that. Forever to get a hold of them. And then they always sending you invites or whatever it may be, and then if they don't get a hold of you or whatever, then it's red flags.
Right. And we can also do debrief too. Send us your numbers and we can kind of look at it. That's one thing with the program. We can help you, but we can't tell you the exact numbers. I can say, well, did you include this? Did you have this in there? And that's part of the bid document review that we do before you submit. Ask you questions. I can kind of see if something's off. If I have time enough to look at it, that's why I say set up that meeting right away so we can have time to work with you on the bid document review, because if you come in 3 days before, it's hard for us to really dive in there and see what's wrong. I'm always going to be looking at your general condition. Did you include this? How many hours and all that kind of stuff. One thing that people do when it says lump sum, they put their overhead profit GCs within the scope of work, and then, oh, here's a lump number. Well, how'd you get that number? Right? So that's why on my sheets, your trade-related, whatever you're doing is up here. That's your hard costs. That's what I always call it. Then your overhead profit GCs and all that, it's a soft cost. And you need to know what it is so you can negotiate that as well. There could be in the owner requirements where they say your general condition is 12% and your profit is 8% or 9%. That's 21% total, right? You're going to have to be able to figure out how to get that 12% and 9%. But if you throw it all up in that number, how do you know what you're doing? Because then once you win the job, then you got to manage your general conditions, because that is how you're paying your admin. You don't want to have what I call a fee erosion, where you're starting taking money from your profit line to pay certain things, because you.
So general conditions are, in other words, like overheads, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have a list. We'll go through that next week with the presenters, what general conditions are, but understanding what they are. The sheet that I have for you guys, I mean, it has a list like your superintendent, or you can call it foreman, project manager, accountant, what percent of time they're going to be on that job, what is their fully burdened rate, so you know what it is for the duration of that project. So, I mean, that's how you're going to have to dissect that information at the very beginning so you can track it, because that's where you can lose your socks, is on not knowing your general condition, and you just let everybody charge put it in general condition. Miscellaneous tools can be in general conditions, right? You need $2,000 for miscellaneous tools for a project. Only $2,000 you can spend. You start spending $3,000. Where's that other $1,000 coming from? Your profit. So you have to spend, like I'm saying, break it down so you understand and you can negotiate, is what I'm trying to get at with that. Any questions? And I think we've already talked about that. The foundation of all estimates is only good as the takeoff. And if your takeoff is wrong, your estimate will be wrong. Oh man, we're running out of time here. But there are different types of proposals, invitation to bid, IFB. You're going to see a lot of that in Public Works. You'll get this slide here, these slide decks, so you can go back and refer it. And then next week, start asking the presenters more questions after you have a chance to dissect it. But, these are the different types of proposals that you'll see out there. Request for proposal, RFP. There's a definition for that. Here's another one, RFQ. That is request for quote or qualifications, whatever. That is, SOQ that you're going to be doing sometime for that. Then when they have the opportunities, you've been shortlisted and you're on their pre-approved list for certain jobs, if it's a job order, contract, or maintenance, or Parks and Recs, you're already on their SOQ. They have your SOQ, so they already know what you can do. They're going to go to their list. I call it a short list, and there's 5, 6 people. And say, hey, okay, they can either say, hey, you 3 bid on this, or they can give it to you or the next person, whatever. So those are RFQs, and also if they're also, as the owner, trying to figure out what their price is going to be, they're going to send out RFQ as they're still trying to finalize their pricing and design to make sure that they're within the, their approved budget. And I already kind of talked about design, bid, build. Here's some definitions of it. And we kind of went through that earlier, the contract types. And then, we kind of talked about some estimating tools. There's a lot of stuff in Microsoft Project, for scheduling, Microsoft Project. I'm sorry, I ain't said it. That's in Microsoft, in the suite. You can use that for scheduling. There is P6, which is, I know, it's, P6, yeah, is a cloud-based Primavera. And it's a scheduling one that is very detailed, complex to use, very expensive. The benefits of it is the owners can also get access to that schedule and they can see it at real time. Subcontractors can also use P6 as a team member. So you can go in and update just your activities of when you started, percent complete, and end date. And it rolls into the master calendar schedule. So there's a lot of those that's in there. And like the estimating programs that we talked about, RS Means, or you can just go online and go to Home Depot, find some numbers, I mean, really, because that's where you're going to be buying most of your materials from, we talked about Bluebeam. Autodesk is like AutoCAD, if you have the time to do AutoCAD and Autodesk Rivet and all that to do your different layers and takeoffs. PlanGrid is another one where you can use when you're in the field. It can be on your iPad. You can do your punch list in there. You can create RFIs. Every time there's addendums and stuff, you can upload the current plans into that, and it will keep the most current revision for you. It keeps you organized. So when it's time to do your closeout, you can go to Plan Grid and, your submittals, RFIs, and everything. And then your punch list items, it has photos. You can go to that drawing and just like tap there, and you can put like a punching bag, and you can put in notes of what it is. Here's a picture. Then you can send that email out to others to come back and do corrections. That's why I like Plan Grid, because it's all electronic. You don't have to be walking around with plans in your hand. You can do your safety daily logs in there, all that. You can do time sheets, everything. It's a great tool, and it's not expensive either for Plan Grid. I think it's an annual subscription for that too, but there is, and I believe that's companies, monthly, and I believe they're out of Pasadena too. I believe Plan Grid is local. And then, like I said, we talked about the online scheduling P6, which is difficult. Now, one thing I want to mention with Microsoft Project can be uploaded into P6. So in the owner's requirements, they might say, hey, they want a Primavera schedule. And your small GC is like, hey, I don't have that program. If you have Microsoft Project, it can be uploaded into P6 because it's all Excel based, but you can't take from P6 and load it into, it's hard. Yeah, so, and then also even Monday.com can be used.
And
Yeah.
you come across Builder's Trend in this software?
What was it?
Builder's Trend?
Builder's Trend?
Did you hear about them?
I was teaching a class in North Carolina. They were talking about it as well. I haven't personally used it, but I'm gonna do some research on it, as far as that. So, here's what that P6 schedule looks like. There'll be, when our classes, we'll be doing that, but real quick, these items that you see that's in red, that is the critical path. In other words, critical path is those activities are driving the end date. So if you're like here, millwork, you see it's red, oh man, you're in the critical path. That's where liquidating damages comes into play. That's in the owner requirements. If you're late, it could be $1,500 a day for each day you're late. Like at LAWA, they go by the minute because it's the airport, that runway, they're costing millions and millions of dollars if something's late. So you need to understand your liquidating damages that's in that invitation to bid, because it could be very high, especially if you're on that critical path, because they're going to try to make you stay on that schedule. One thing that if you do win the job, say, hey, this is my real schedule. They're going to work with you, allow you to come up with your real schedule. But if they say 210 days is all you get, how are you going to figure 210 days for your scope of work? And with that, you're going to have to keep in mind your pre-construction is your submittals, shop drawings, all that. Anytime you get that notice to proceed and you're working on the job, that's time and money. That's got to be in your schedule.
Weather days.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the rain we're getting out here. Yeah, you got to include the rain days that's listed in there. They might approve 11 rain days in the schedule. Put that in there because it's rain in wintertime. If you're working in the wintertime, you're going to get rain. Floods here. But I'm just trying to get you guys to get an overview of what this is all about. It's a lot, and I don't expect for people to get everything the first time around. So, do we have any questions? Because we got the quiz coming up. I'm sorry for running a little late, but I think we'll get through the quiz kind of quick. Any questions, any clarifications? You guys felt good about what was delivered today? Like I said, I love being in person. It's going to be different, virtual. But that's why we make sure that you guys keep your cameras on when the presenters are talking, because it's kind of hard to be presenting to just a name and no face, because we don't know what you're doing. So, I ask that you guys, if you guys step away for a few minutes, normally we'll give you a break, so you'll get a break, So any questions before we hit this quiz? And we're just going to run through this quiz. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. So, you talked about working with the GCs as a subcontractor. Like, so the sub, we could set like when we want to get paid and negotiate that. Like, if we want to, or do we gotta wait till they get paid? How does that work?
The paid when pay is kind of going away these days, but they also have some incentive programs or early pay programs where if they got 45 days to get paid from the owner, right? They might have a program where they say 15 days, but it's going to be a fee for that because they're paying you before they get paid from the owner. Because 45 days is when they should be expecting money from the owner so they can pay you. But if you need it early, you can talk about it, and they might have it listed right up the very beginning. Early pay.
It's a negotiated conversation.
Yeah, you can always talk to them. Just because it's not there, say, hey, I'm small, help me out. Because you're on their team now. So they're not going to say no. They want to help you as much as possible, to make sure you're successful, right?
Yeah, I didn't have the patience, and I said, okay, I'm not ready yet for bidding on the government jobs. And I said, okay, so maybe I will sell something to City of LA. And then I was kind of like, okay, I found this one opportunity. It was like hooks and shackles for Family Works Street Services. And I got it. There was like maybe 20 hooks altogether, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was this thing where you could actually put 5%, whatever percent works for you, for early payment. So normally, I think CDLA has 30-day net pay, but for early payments, I put, okay, so I give you guys 5% discount if you pay me, in 14 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the prime contractors might be on this arrangement with the city. So that's why I think it's good to negotiate with them.
Yeah, and we also have in our program is contract-based finance. So where we take your contract as collateral, and it's designed more as seed money for when you mobilize. Say, for your payroll, or if you got to get materials up front before you even get out on the job. So we do have that. It's a small fee, and it's a short-term loan. It's a lot cheaper than a regular revolving loan out there or a line of credit. So that is in our program as well. So it helps you once you win a job, say, hey, I want to apply for the contract-based finance, get to your CDM, and they'll work with you to get you pre-qualified. So, we'll do a cash flow projection. Yeah, that's what we said, one-stop shop. We've been doing contract-based finance, 2.5 years now, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's a good program. It pays off. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. You mentioned pay when the GC gets paid.
Pay when pay. It's not going away. It really doesn't hold up in court because a lot of are like, hey, I can't pay my subcontractors until I get paid. I mean, yeah, but if you're a big contractor and you got enough money in the bank to help these small people out, help them out. Yeah.
It's a negotiated conversation.
Yeah. It's like, hey, man, I can't wait until you get paid from the owner because I'm going to go under. So it's just working with them too.
I have a follow-up question. So that's the kind of issues I'm dealing with because I sell aggregates. And so I don't have to do what all you have to do because they literally tell you they need 5,000 tons or something.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have to bid on the whole 5,000 tons that they need, let's say for a job, or could you tell them, hey?
Oh, you mean unbundle?
Yeah.
That is up to the hiring agency. If they want to unbundle and say, okay, you get 1,000, but that puts a little bit more work on their management. But we do unbundle. We can talk to the agency, hey, unbundle so that multiple small, contractors can get the work too.
He can negotiate in his SOBs.
Yeah, it's like I can only do this amount, and then they're gonna find somebody else. Schedule of values.
Every so often I need this amount of.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, it's 5,000, but you
So if
can't
it's
front the whole 5,000. Yeah,
Oh. They need construction materials.
Uh-huh.
Because I sell construction materials like asphalt, baby solar.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I've noticed in some jobs they're asking for 10,000 tons or something for a project. but I'm kind of scared to submit a bid, because I know that, I'm not sure if we have to pay for all that material upfront.
That's where you negotiate, you know, you can put, you know, in your bid, you can say, hey, you know, I need 35% up front.
Oh, got it.
You know, and then you're gonna have to do a pay app and, you know, whatever it is, so that way that you can get paid. Because, yeah, that's that seed money, like I said, with like contract-based finance, it's the same thing. You don't have to go ask them, it costs you a little bit of money, you know, to do it, but at least it helps you build your credit as well with the contract-based finance. So over time, you can go get a regular loan. You know, this is like maybe 90 days that contract-based finance is paid back. Once you start getting paid from them, we pay the debt off. And then it's done and you're still getting your money coming in. Yes, sir.
Question, you mentioned, like with him, how you can ask for 35% down, right? So is it different, because I know, like residential, right, contractors take license, you can only bid no more than $1,000, you know, when you get your contract on. So is it different when you do public work and federal work, when you can ask for more to start the job?
That's only residential.
Residential. Yeah, commercial is like, hey, I've seen, yeah, because I've seen where my suppliers come to me, I need 35, I said, all right, I'll give you 20. Okay. Because I'm helping you, but I can't give you all of that because, hey, you haven't even started yet. I need a little bit to keep you on the hook too.
Yeah, your retention.
Yeah, and then you have retention of 10% or whatever. That's automatic in there. So we'll go through. I mean, that's a lot, guys. So any other questions? Like I said, we've got other weeks that we will be around. I'll be on each Zoom and everything. So I'm not going anywhere. So everybody can at least, you know, reach out to me. So, all right, we're going to get with the test question here. And is bidding the same as estimating? What are the 3 structural decisions that an owner make to shape the construction project? Yep, B. Is the estimator's responsibility to recognize both risks and opportunities? Why takeoff is so important? Yep. Yep. Which delivery method does the owner prefer? A. That's right, design build, because it's putting the risk back on you guys, not on the owner. And it's a lot faster for the job to get done because it's not going through review. It's like, hey, it's on you now. Clock is ticking. So, yeah, that is. So, you know, my question was kind of, here's number 6. Should long lead items be included? Yes, because that is driving that your time there, and it's money. Yep.
I'm sorry, what was number 4?
Number 4. Why is takeoff so important? All the above, the foundation of all estimates. The estimate is only good as the takeoff. If the takeoff is wrong, then the estimate will be wrong. Yeah. Yeah, you guys will get these questions and everything too. So with that, here is the survey and be honest of what you guys think. And then she also had the QR code there. And I do want to thank Linda for staying the whole time here and coming in and jumping in. Thank you so much. That's valuable. I love when the owners are here too, because it shows how they're dedicated and they mean what they say at the city. That's why we've been with you guys for 18, 19 years, something like that. Yeah. A long time this program has been with the city, and it works, because if it didn't, we would not be here today. So, that's right. So, make sure that you answer it honestly. I know I flew through a lot of this, but each week there's going to be a survey for you guys to take, and the presenters has requested that we give them the raw data. So we're not going to generalize what you say. Whatever you put in, they're going to get, because they want to be able to improve their presentations as well.